Usually when you think about exporting controlled defense technology, you picture something highly visible.
Right, like massive cargo planes.
Exactly. You imagine massive cargo planes on a tarmac, wooden crates stamped with military stencils, physical hardware moving across a heavily guarded border. It feels tangible.
It feels obvious.
Yeah, it feels obvious.
Yeah.
But for those of you listening today, whether you are an autonomous aerospace founder, a defense firm CTO, or maybe an empowered official tasked with keeping your company out of federal court, welcome to today's deep dive, because we are going to completely shatter that assumption.
It's a necessary paradigm shift, really. We're unpacking international defense tech transfer today, and specifically we're looking at export controls, technical assistance agreements under ITAR Part 124, and the broader global trade compliance landscape.
Right.
And the reality of this landscape is that the most dangerous exports, they don't happen on a runway. They happen on a laptop.
Yeah, and it all starts with something I like to call the defense service trap.
Oh, that's a great name for it.
Thanks. So let's say you are co-developing drone swarming code or, tactical ground robotics with a foreign partner in the UK. You might think you're covered because you have a standard export license for the physical drone components.
Right, the hardware.
Exactly. But the moment you jump on a Zoom call to troubleshoot flight telemetry with their engineers, you are no longer just exporting hardware. You are providing a defense service.
Which is the ultimate invisible tripwire. I mean, it catches so many innovative, fast-moving companies completely off guard.
I bet.
Because in modern R&D, knowledge is just as weaponizable as hardware. If we look at the actual regulatory text, ITAR section 120.32, a defense service includes furnishing assistance, engineering, or training to a foreign person in the design, development, assembly, or testing of defense articles.
So there's zero requirement for a physical exchange.
Zero. None at all.
Okay, let's unpack this, because it feels wild to me that casually debugging uncompiled guidance software over Slack with a foreign engineer can trigger the exact same Arms Export Control Act violations as literally shipping them a crate of missile fins.
I know, it sounds extreme when you put it like that.
It's like the government is saying the thought process itself is contraband.
Well, the U.S. government views the transfer of tactical know-how as a critical national security vulnerability. I mean, if you teach someone how to optimize the payload integration on a drone, you haven't given them a drone, but you have given them the permanent, replicable capability to build a better one.
Ah, I see.
And that knowledge doesn't degrade, right? That is why the State Department treats your Slack message with the exact same gravity as a physical munition.
Wow. So if we accept that a tactical thought process is highly regulated, how do you actually build an international business? Like, if an everyday engineering communication can be a federal violation, how do you legally authorize these interactions?
That is the million-dollar question. And it introduces a massive tension in the regulatory framework between different types of export authorizations.
Yeah, you run into a genuinely maddening contradiction within the ITAR itself, because providing technical data to a foreign person is, by definition, considered a defense service.
Right. And despite that circular logic, that data equals a service, and a service requires an agreement, you basically have two main vehicles for sharing information.
Okay, what are they?
First, you have a Form DSP-5. This is transactional. It authorizes permanent exports of discrete hardware or maybe static one-off documents, pre-contract marketing data, that sort of thing.
And the second?
But if you want a relational, multi-year, two-way engineering collaboration, you need a technical assistance agreement, a TAA under ITAR Part 124.
But wait, if the ITAR language is so circular that simply handing over technical data on a DSP-5 is technically a defense service, how does a company know what the Directorate of Defense Trade Controls, the DDTC, will actually approve? It feels like you'd just be guessing if you need a quick license or a massive multi-year agreement.
What's fascinating here is that the industry has actually adapted to this regulatory ambiguity with a somewhat cynical acronym.
Oh, what is it?
WYCGIOW.
Wait, GAW?
Yeah, it stands for whatever you can get away with.
You are kidding.
I wish I was. Because the operational reality is that sometimes the DDTC approves defense service-like activities on a simpler DSP-5. But other times, they will issue a return without action, an RWA, on a perfectly good application.
Basically just kicking it back and telling you to file a full TAA instead.
Exactly. You're at the mercy of the reviewer's interpretation on any given Tuesday.
That sounds like a nightmare for a project timeline, especially for a startup burning cash while waiting for permission to collaborate.
Oh, it can completely stall a product roadmap. But there is a reliable rule of thumb to navigate this. If you are dealing with a one-off data transfer, like sending a build-to-print drawing just to get a manufacturing quote, use the DSP-5.
Okay, makes sense.
It's also appropriate if you need to authorize a foreign person who is a direct employee of your company. But the moment you move past the marketing phase into actual ongoing post-contract technical exchange.
Where engineers are whiteboarding and iterating back and forth.
Right, exactly. Once you cross that threshold, you must use a TAA.
All right, so let's say we cross that threshold. We are doing serious international drone R&D, maybe something covered under USML Category 8 for tactical uncrewed platforms.
Okay.
We know we need a TAA. How do you build a document that doesn't get immediately rejected by the DDTC? Because getting this approved seems incredibly daunting.
It is, but the architecture of a successful TAA rests on 3 structural pillars. If you miss any of them, you are guaranteed an RWA.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first pillar is an explicit scope of work. You can never use vague, sweeping terms like, if you write, we will collaborate on all drone tech, the DDTC will reject it immediately.
So no generic catch-alls.
Right. It must be hyper-specific. You need boundaries like exchange of unclassified flight control architecture data and integration testing for fixed-wing uncrewed platforms. They need to know the exact dimensions of the sandbox you are playing in.
You have to literally fence in the knowledge. And that brings us to the second pillar, which is comprehensive party identification. You have to name every single foreign entity and facility involved.
Every single one.
And there's a really tricky layer to this that I think catches a lot of companies out. If your UK partner subcontracts some of the software work to a third party in France, that third party is considered a foreign sublicensee.
Yes. And that French facility has to be explicitly listed. You have to map out the entire genetic tree of the project.
Wow.
If controlled data is going to touch a server, a subcontractor, or an employee of a different nationality, the State Department demands a spotlight on it. You have to get an executed non-disclosure agreement from that French sublicensee.
And your empowered official has to keep that NDA on file for 5 years past the expiration of the entire agreement.
Right. Correct. 5 years past expiration.
Which leads to the third structural pillar, and honestly the one that feels the most frustrating, verbatim clauses.
Oh, yes.
ITAR Section 124.7 and Section 124.8 contain mandatory clauses that must be included in your agreement.
Verbatim.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because it feels almost pedantic that a multi-million-dollar international aerospace project could be entirely derailed just because an attorney decided to paraphrase a regulatory clause to make it read better. I mean, is the DDTC really that rigid?
They are absolutely that rigid. In compliance, precision isn't just preferred, it is the law. When you paraphrase a regulatory clause, you aren't just changing the tone, you are potentially shifting legal liabilities.
Ah, I see.
These agreements are legally binding documents under federal law. The State Department will not tolerate any ambiguity that could be exploited in court if a violation occurs. So if the regulation says the clause must be included, you copy, you paste, and you do not touch the formatting.
Do not get creative with the government's boilerplate. I hear you. So let's assume you've drafted the perfect TAA. You've fenced in the scope, mapped the genetic tree of all the foreign partners and sublicensees, copy-pasted the 124.8 clauses perfectly, and the DDTC actually approves it.
Hey, celebrate for a minute.
Right. It feels like that should be the finish line. But in reality, based on the sources, approval is where most small contractors actually fall into the trap of non-compliance.
Oh, without a doubt. Because approval is simply permission to begin the execution phase. And execution is where the friction really starts.
Right.
Before a single file transfers or a single Zoom meeting happens, all U.S. applicants, foreign license holders, and foreign sublicensees must formally sign the finalized TAA.
Think about the logistics of routing a physical or digital signature through multiple international corporations and their legal departments. That could take weeks.
And once you finally get all those signatures, the clock is ticking.
Because the empowered official has to upload that fully executed agreement to the State Department's DPCCS portal within 30 days of execution.
Yep.
30 days. The DECCS portal is their digital gateway for defense trade. If you miss that window, Your hard-won approval is essentially useless.
And you also have to manage the DDTC provisos.
Right. The government rarely just stamps approved and walks away. They attach mandatory conditions. They might say, approved provided you do not transfer any source code, or approved provided you limit the guidance capabilities to these specific parameters.
How do you practically enforce that operationally? You have like a 23-year-old software engineer who just wants to solve a problem with their counterpart in London. They don't read the DDTC provisos.
No, they definitely don't.
If they share a snippet of restricted source code on Slack on day one, the entire company is in violation.
This is exactly why your internal operational checklist needs to be ironclad. First, project managers must review and formally sign off on all of these provisos before the project kickoff. The engineering team has to understand the boundaries.
Second, you must audit all foreign communications. Make sure your engineers aren't holding technical calls under basic commercial NDAs, falsely thinking that protects them from ITAR, because it offers zero protection.
And if your engineering team wants to collaborate with a UK company, and that UK company uses French and Indian national employees, you must explicitly account for those dual or third country nationals in your TAA package, even if they aren't from restricted countries.
Yes, verifying foreign personnel nationalities is a critical part of that checklist. You have to document citizenship and permanent residency for all participants.
And finally, you need to establish a dedicated TAA activity log, right?
That is critical. You need a ledger to track every technical meeting and every data release against the authorized limits of the agreement.
It's like building a chain of custody for intellectual property. You have to treat every technical thought you share with the same rigor as handing over a physical prototype. But that actually raises a fascinating pivot. We've spent all this time obsessing over the invisible exports, the knowledge and tech going out via TAAs. But a truly well-informed CTO or founder has to manage the physical reality of hardware moving across borders too, especially when those prototypes or components come back in.
Right. And to understand that, we have to fundamentally shift how we define the word export. We just spent a lot of time in the State Department's world with ITAR, where an export is an invisible defense service.
Yeah.
But if you look at the foreign trade regulations, the FTR, which is governed by the Census Bureau, their definition is completely different. To them, an export is simply sending physical goods out of the country.
Which triggers an entirely different compliance mechanism. You're suddenly dealing with the Automated Export System, or AES, and filing Electronic Export Information, EEI.
Yeah.
It's like you're speaking three different dialects of the same language. It's an absolute code soup.
That's a great way to put it. You have to speak the language of physical logistics, and that means mastering the classification codes. If you are shipping physical goods, you are dealing with HS codes, Schedule B codes, and HTS codes.
Okay, let's break those down because they sound interchangeable. But I know using the wrong one can trigger a massive audit.
Very true. So HS codes, or the harmonized system, is a 6-digit global standard. Almost every country in the world recognizes those first 6 digits to classify a product, say a drone motor.
Okay, so that's universal.
Right. But individual countries want more specificity for their own records, so they add digits. A Schedule B code is a 10-digit number used strictly for U.S. exports. It's how the Census Bureau tracks what is leaving the country to measure the economy.
And the HTS code?
An HTS code, or Harmonized Tariff Schedule code, is also 10 digits, but it is used strictly for U.S. imports.
So here's a quirk that really stood out to me in the sources. You can legally use your import HTS codes for your exports, just to save time. But you cannot use your export Schedule B codes for your imports. Why the one-way street? I mean, if they are both 10-digit U.S. government codes describing the exact same drone motor, why the asymmetry?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to the underlying motivation of the agencies involved. Statistics versus tax revenue?
Ah, of course.
Schedule B codes are a streamlined statistical subset. The Census Bureau just wants to know, generally, how many drone motors we are exporting. But HTS codes are used by Customs and Border Protection to dictate actual import duties and taxes.
So they are incredibly granular.
Highly granular. If you use a broader Schedule B code to import something, you might inadvertently classify it under a lower duty rate. You end up paying the wrong tariff. And misclassifying an import directly impacts federal tax revenue, which Customs treats as fraud.
And nobody wants to be investigated for defrauding customs.
Definitely not.
So if misusing an export code on an import document can trigger a fraud investigation, how does a startup actually prove to the government they are doing things right? There's a framework for proving what Customs calls reasonable care.
Yeah, And it relies on three specific internal defenses. A holistic trade program requires three pillars of import compliance.
Let's hear them.
The first is having a dedicated trade compliance team. It cannot just be, an overwhelmed shipping clerk trying to guess HTS codes on a Friday afternoon.
Right.
It requires cross-functional accountability from logistics, purchasing, and finance. The second pillar is a written import compliance manual. Customs won't ask if you have one during an audit, they will demand to see it. It's the physical proof of your policies.
And the third pillar is internal audits. But it's not just glancing at a shipping manifest. The gold standard is auditing from PO to payment. Walk me through what that actually looks like operationally on a Tuesday morning in the finance department.
Sure. A PO to payment audit means you are tracing the entire life cycle of a transaction. You pull the original purchase order, like what did your engineers ask for?
Good.
Then you check the commercial invoice from the foreign supplier, the packing list, the entry summary filed by your customs broker, and finally, the actual payment ledger.
So you're checking if the value you declared to customs matches the exact amount of money you wired to the supplier.
Exactly. Did you pay for engineering assists or tooling that should have been added to the customs value? You have to find those discrepancies before customs does.
Because if your company is growing rapidly, say you have a 500% increase in import volume for a new drone fleet, customs sees that growth as a massive red flag.
Oh, huge red flag.
They assume your compliance infrastructure hasn't scaled with your sales, meaning you are statistically highly likely to be making classification or valuation mistakes.
Precisely. Rapid growth without a scaled compliance team is blood in the water for a customs audit.
So what does this all mean? We've covered an immense amount of ground today. We've seen that navigating ITAR Part 124, understanding the sweeping scope of what constitutes a defense service, mastering the rigid execution of a TAA, and building an import compliance program from PO to payment aren't just bureaucratic hurdles.
No, they're not.
They are the foundational logistics that make global autonomous innovation possible. If you want to build the future of aerospace with international talent, you have to build your compliance infrastructure with the exact same engineering rigor you apply to your technology.
I couldn't agree more. And that rigorous mindset is going to be tested very soon by an emerging area that the regulations haven't entirely figured out yet.
Oh, it's that.
Artificial intelligence and machine learning. They are fundamentally challenging the definition of a defense service.
The blurry lines of the future.
Exactly. Imagine the scenario. You have an AI model that was trained entirely on public, open source, unrestricted data. A developer asks it to generate a novel algorithm for drone swarming. You then take that AI-generated algorithm and run it through a flight simulator while on a screen share with your foreign partner in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Who exactly is providing the defense service in that moment? Is it the human who hit run? Is it the AI that wrote the code? Can open source origins exempt a highly tactical output?
It's the ultimate evolution of the Slack chat problem.
Exactly.
The invisible expert isn't even fully human anymore. We've gone from tracking shipping crates on a tarmac to tracking Zoom calls and Slack threads to eventually having to audit the tactical thought process of a neural network.
And the current regulations are struggling to map to this reality. It is a massive gray area. For anyone operating in defense tech, determining liability when AI generates tactical knowledge is the most critical space to watch over the next few years.
It's a daunting frontier, but an exciting one. For everyone listening, remember the core lesson of today's deep dive. Your everyday engineering conversations carry the exact same legal weight as physical hardware. Treat your technical data like a munition. Keep your logistics tight and your compliance tighter. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.